What is happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. We are back with another M5. This is an M5 competition in Marina Bay Blue, and it is absolutely stunning. Huge shout out to the guys at Alta Auto Group for allowing me to make this review today. If you guys want to check out their dealership, any other information will be down below. This car is currently for sale at the dealership, as well as a bunch of other cars. Make sure you check them out if you're interested in buying a new vehicle. Being that we just recently reviewed an M5cs, I thought that maybe we should try out an M5 competition, which is just making a little less horsepower than the M5cs. It's got a softer suspension setup, doesn't have all of the carbon fiber bits to it, just a bit more basic when compared to the M5cs. Now the M5cs is a little bit lighter, making more power, it's rather stiff. So I'm curious to see how this one stacks up. Marina Bay Blue, what a beautiful color. It is very similar to San Marino Blue, but with a less of the purple tint to it, less of that like raspberry tint, but still like a true blue, a very, very good looking blue on this car. So it has the blacked out wheels. It has obviously all of the icon headlights up front. It's got the blacked out kidney grills. If you remember on the M5cs, it had all of the gold accents, the satin gold, as well as like the carbon hood and everything. This one does not have that. It has like the blacked out mirror caps, has the blacked out trim. It does have the carbon fiber roof, full carbon fiber roof on it. Looks really, really good in this color. It's not a color that is super loud. It's almost closer to like a navy blue, but it looks really stealth. Also has the CS style carbon fiber rear spoiler. It does have the carbon fiber rear diffuser. Into the interior, we have wood grain up top, but the rest of it will be black. Very clean, classic interior. I think it looks really good. I like it. I think it suits this car very well. This is going to be somewhat similar to the CS. The differences obviously are going to be the steering wheel and then the seats. In the CS you have the full carbon buckets up front, and then you also have buckets in the back. But on the competition, you just have the normal leather seats, no buckets, and then obviously the normal leather seats up front. For most people, these are probably going to make a little more sense. Those carbon buckets are not for everyone. They are very stiff, very form-fitting, and I can imagine after a long time, it's like a lengthy drive in that car, it probably gets annoying. From what I expect, it's probably not going to handle as good as the M5cs. I expect it to be a little bit more floaty and a little bit more of a pig when compared to the M5cs. Now, it's not like this car is slow. It's still making 617, I believe, 617 horsepower from the factory. Same engine, just without the CS tune. So this is the 4.4 liter V8 twin turbo engine. Got little carbon accents on the engine cover, but yeah, it's all stock. So I think that about does it. Let's get into the car and get some driving. Very similar feeling to the M5cs. This one's got a little more burble feedback for us. Yeah, it feels good. The exhaust is a lot louder than the M5cs. And I think that sometimes that plays a big role into just like the feedback that you're getting from the car and how exciting it is to drive that car. But you can already tell right from the jump that this car feels much different than the CS. It does feel a little bit heavier, and it just doesn't quite handle as well. It's got a little more like floatiness to it. Feels a little bit more like a boat. That M5cs really felt like a car. It really handled and performed like more like a sports car, whereas this one actually feels like a sedan. Say that it feels bad at all. This thing feels amazing. No matter how you chalk it up, once you get up to these level of cars, they all perform really, really good. The differences are there and you can feel them, but it's not really anything that's going to completely change the game for the person who buys the car. You got to think about how many people are honestly going to be tracking their M5cs. Realistically, a very, very slim amount of people are actually going to take that car to the track. I think with those kind of cars, it's just if you have the money to buy them and you're a big BMW M5 fan, that's the one to get. Kind of like bragging rights, but nobody is really going to be putting that car to its full potential when driving it. The majority of people are just the average enthusiasts. They're not track racers that buy that car. I really like the color of this car. The Marina Bay Blue is just gorgeous. It's a really, really pretty blue. That's the rips. This sounds so good. I guess that's the titanium exhaust for you, you know? It's just got a little more bite to it. Does sound like a little more like on the tinny side. The exhaust overall in this car, I think, sounds better than the CS. You could hear mostly engine with the CS and turbos, but with this car, you're hearing a little bit more of that exhaust trickled in there. It makes it exciting to drive. It's crazy once you get inside of these M5s, they just feel so big compared to like the 3 Series that I have. You just sort of feel like you're driving a boat. And that's not for everyone, you know, not everyone is gonna be into driving bigger cars like this. I typically buy smaller cars like the 2 Series, the Supra, the 3 Series. Never really been interested in having like a larger car like this. I just don't really have the need for all of the space, you know. It makes more sense for me to have the lighter version that's a little bit faster and a little more nimble than the bigger, boatier, Hellcat-y version. But for some people, these make sense, you know, like they have families, they still want like a sports car. The M5 is that car. It's burbles. They're pretty aggressive. That's more burbles than I have on my 340. This car has 27,000 miles on it, so it has been driven a little bit. But overall, it feels really good. It does feel a lot different than the M5cs. It's an entirely different car. The way that they tuned the suspension in that M5cs was just so good. It was so good. It's hard to compare or even like beat that setup because it was perfect. Like the M5cs is a really killer car. God, the acceleration is brutal. Yeah, just a little bit more body roll to it. Not quite on the level of the CS. It still handles really good. It is an M5 competition. It's going to handle good. But I think that I got spoiled when driving the CS because that is another level of precision. I always find it interesting when people are comparing stats of these cars, you know, like, oh, what's the 0 to 60? It's not as fast as this car or the other car, or it's not, you know, as fast as this car on the Nürburgring, or it does this in the quarter mile, which isn't as fast as this car. How many of you, or how many of the people that are buying these cars are really like stacking up times next to other cars? They're not racing these cars. Oh, I bought this car because it has a faster 0 to 60 by like 0.2 seconds. Yeah, but are you really going to be utilizing that? I always pay more attention to the handling side of these cars because I think that that's something that the majority of people are actually going to use and feel on like a daily driven basis. When you feel how good some of these cars handle in the corners, it really tells you a lot about how the car was engineered and built. It is fast. It is really fast. It is not a slow car by any means. Oh, it's so violent. Just like the M5cs, man. That thing just launches. It's crazy. It just builds boost and goes. There's really no lag at all with these cars. Once they get to this certain level, they just haul ass. They're so fun to drive though, you guys. Like if you have an opportunity to drive a car, any M5, M5 Comp, M5cs, if you can get your hands on it, they're all such a blast to drive. BMW just does such a good job. I am going to be doing some reviews on some cars that aren't BMWs for you guys. We're going to be doing some Porsches, We got a GT500 coming up. Some interesting stuff that I think would be, you know, it's good to get out of the bubble a little bit. I'll do some Mercedes stuff and just kind of compare them. Yeah, I mean, still handles really, really good. It just has a bit more float to it. Acceleration is too good. Everything on the inside is very reminiscent of the CS. Obviously the steering wheel is a little bit different, but you still have the clamping power that you can change up here. The trim and everything is a little bit different, being that it's the wood grain, but it still looks really, really good. I think they just do such a good job. Everything inside feels really nice. Like the luxury is top notch for sure. I will say, I think I am spoiled with the M5cs. This is an incredible car, and if I had gone straight from my 340 to this car, I would have been like, holy crap, it's amazing. But driving that M5cs and then driving the M5 Comp, kind of understand why people pay that much more for the M5cs. I think it's like MSRP is like another 30,000 or something like that from M5 Comp to M5cs, but it is a massive difference in the way that the car handles, the way it's tuned, just the way that the car overall carries itself. Huge difference. I also really like the deep green frozen metallic that is on the CS with like all the gold trim. It just stands out and it makes it so much more unique. But Marina Bay Blue, M5 Comp, you really can't go wrong for the money. It looks incredible. Big enough for your whole family, handles really well, and the thing is fast. All right, guys, that is gonna wrap this video up with this Marina Bay Blue M5 competition. If you guys are interested in purchasing this car, it'll be available, hopefully still available. I know a couple of people are looking at it right now at Alta Auto Group, as well as a bunch of other cars. I'll have all their stuff linked down below for you. Huge shout out to those guys for letting me do the review on this car today. But just like that, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this video up. I'll see you guys in the next one. Love you. Take care.